Well, this is going to be a fun one. So far, I've mostly stuck to one of two things. Either reviewing content that we already know is going to be in Godzilla Save the Earth Melee, or I've been speculating on things that are not the characters. And I do this for a reason. So I'm young enough, I've been able to live through 3 different Super Smash Bros. Games hype cycles. I was really young when Brawl first came out, and I remember looking up all the dojo entries as they were being revealed. I was a little bit older when Smash 4 came out, and I was in college when the DLC was happening. In fact, that was the only reason I ever got any good at Smash 4, was because Corrin came out as DLC. And if you doubt that, just look up the SBY Smash YouTube channel. You'll find me on there. There are some videos of me without facial hair. I also was kind of falling out of favor with the Smash games when Ultimate came out. The first ever ex-girlfriend that I had broke up with me at the beginning of the semester when that started, beginning as a game in earnest. So I really wasn't able to focus on it so much because of the heartbreak. But I am a Godzilla fan, and I wasn't really super involved with Godzilla Unleashed hype cycle, just because I don't think I really found out about that until after it had pretty much transpired. But I am old enough that I can participate in the hype cycle for Godzilla Save the Earth Melee. Yes, it's not an official release, but I mean, as far as Godzilla in gaming goes, this is the shit, right? Now, when I was involved in the Smash 4 DLC hype cycle, someone developed what is known as the Super Smash Bros. Roster Maker. It was made by someone named Jakor, with character icons made by a bajillion people. I downloaded this program and I made a bajillion icons for it. Dragon Ball, Godzilla, generic kaiju. It helped me get used to the Paint.net program, which, if you have watched this channel at all, you know is the program that I use to make the Airstrike maps. Well, Super Smash Bros. Roster Maker was how I learned how to use Paint.net, so I wanted to use it to make a roster video for Save the Earth Melee. Full disclosure, I have no idea who is on the inside track. I only know what I have seen, and it is likely, given that I'm making this video on April 23rd at 10:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it is likely that the roster has in some way been updated since I make this. And in that case, we're going to be able to compare this to that. This is going to release after that, whatever that is. The demo just came out the other day, so most of my uploads that are already on track are slightly out of date because of that, but I'm trying to structure and make these videos such that they'll be entertaining regardless. So if any of this is proved wrong, just know that this is the mindset of somebody who doesn't know of the things that the future holds. Not one of the dev team, I can't know. Okay, so this is the roster screen as I have it. All the characters that are currently in it are characters that we've already confirmed through the monster manuals. The artwork and the images inside each of these icons is not what they are in Godzilla Save the Earth Melee. I made these years ago. This roster maker came out in 2018. That was 6 years ago. And I made all these icons something like 4 or 5 years ago. You'll also notice that some of the names of these characters are not the names that they will be having in the game. As you can see, I have Godzilla 2000, Godzilla 1991, Godzilla 1968, and Godzilla 1954. Those are Millennium Godzilla, Heisei Godzilla, Showa Godzilla, and Classic Godzilla. The Classic Anguirus is Angulus in this game, but I'm pretty sure anyone with a functioning frontal lobe will be able to discern which characters these will be in the actual monster manuals. The monster manual will be in the description of this video. So even though the names are slightly off, they're all in the game. Also, as you can see off to the side there, I have Mothra Larva, Mothra Leo Larva, Rainbow Mothra, and Batra Larva off to the side. Rainbow Mothra and the 2 larvas are both mashed into Mothra here. They only take up 1 space on the monster manual screen, so I only put them in 1 space here. Batra, same deal. The larva and the imago are both the same character. They have a transformation gimmick. Thank you, dev team, for proving me wrong. So I'm going to go through all the icons that I've added. Remember, this was before Singular Point or Godzilla vs. Kong or the New Empire. But I really don't think that's going to affect my choices. But we'll see. Thankfully, the AI will cut out all the dead air. So if I take a while to think about it, you guys aren't going to see that, thankfully. Alright, here's one that's pretty obvious. They've been working on Kong. Now, I put the legendary Kong icon down, but I'm pretty sure they're working on a kind of Showa legendary amalgam character. I don't believe he's gonna have the axe, and I'm pretty sure that's for some technical reasons, but I have a feeling Kong's gonna make it in. This one's pretty much a given. Bagan. I've talked about Bagan in a previous video at this point. I'm pretty sure Bagan is going to be in the game. Oh, that actually reminds me. Super Godzilla is technically also going to be in the game as a form for Heisei Godzilla, so I even did the icons for the different versions of Bagan. The Dragon God Beast, the Monkey God Beast, and the Water God Beast. And I am thankful that I don't think those are going to get in there at all, even if we get Bagan. Now here's one that I talked with someone on the official Godzilla Save the Earth Melee Discord about. And when I say talked about, I mean I left some messages and got completely blown past. I'm putting this one down, but based on the conversation, I don't think we're gonna get Charles Barkley in the game. Because Charles Barkley is a celebrity and his likeness is subject to copyright. And I'm pretty sure the dev team doesn't want to run afoul of any of that. I proposed that President Ogden from the IDW Kingdom of Monsters comic could maybe substitute in for Charles Barkley. And that way we're getting two references for the price of one and also dodging copyright laws, which is the absolute right thing to do. But I can imagine that they would do this. And if you include President Ogden instead of Barkley, I mean, just imagine the dunking on Godzilla memes, the Obama memes, because Ogden is an XP of Barack Obama, which the hack raiders included in Kingdom of Monsters for some reason. I know I've mentioned Giant Serizawa in a previous video, and depending on how this hashes out, I could honestly imagine Ogden instead of Barkley getting in over Giant Serizawa just because of the basketball fighter moveset potential. Now I'm going to include this one on here, but only as a no. Des Ghidorah has been ruled out for reasons that are technical in nature that I personally do not know fully. That one's out. Sho Ebira, I believe, is one of the ones that they're trying to get in, and he ranked pretty high on the poll, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. That poll will also be linked in the description, just in case. And just for the record, I imagine the Final Wars version of Ebira would end up being a skin if that were the case. I'm gonna plop this one in here, not in the definites, just because I have a feeling this is gonna be in the game. I do not like the Mutos, but I can imagine that will be in the game in some form. But until it takes over one of these spots over here with the question marks, don't consider that a definite as far as my prediction goes. I'll talk about this in a second, but I'm just putting it on there just in case I actually go with it. Gabara. I feel like Gabara needs to happen. Gabara is one of those Godzilla characters that was so screwed by the source material from which he was created that having him in this game might be the redemption arc that he deserves. Son of a bitch. My mouse pad is terrible. I'm just gonna say this here, but I have a feeling if Kong gets into the game, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Gargantua end up as skins for him. Another skin, I have a feeling Ganymedes, if it shows up at all, would be a skin for Ebira. You know what would be crazy? Is if the Garoga Gorilla from the Zone Fighter show, or it was one of the various Toho shows, if that ended up as a skin for King Kong, that would be kind of cool. I'm not gonna put it in here yet, but Gazora would be pretty cool. Ghost Godzilla is a skin. Giant Serizawa is going in the maybes. I don't want to have too many joke characters to start. Oh boy, all the millions of Godzillas. I gave each one, like every year, its own icon, so it's a lot to sort through. Okay, here's one that I think is gonna get in there. I know it was a bit of a time lapse before I got to one I actually want to put in here for sure. Shin Godzilla. I'm pretty sure Shin's gonna make it in the game because he ranked pretty high on the poll, and also he's one of the new modern Godzillas that's like so unique he can't be layered on top of anybody. Like there's no icon for Godzilla minus one Godzilla. That's how old and how long it's been since I've made any of these icons. This one I'm gonna put on the maybes. I'll talk about it if I get to it. It's looking more and more like there may be more characters that I'm definite about. Borosaurus. That one's pretty, I feel like that one's pretty easy. There's no real difficulty, I feel. It's mostly just a long, painstaking, arduous process that they're going through through, and he's not at the forefront of the list. I'm ashamed to admit that I didn't even remember that this one was one that absolutely needs to happen, and that's Hedra. But Simon Strange, who was one of the lead designers on the Pipeworks trilogy, he had his sights set way too high with regards to Hedra. He wanted to have Hedra do like gelatinous stuff and kind of have like a pulsating, morphing model and shit. It really doesn't need to be that complex. Ironically, that's one of the few things that the PS4, PS3 game did that was correct. They just did it real simple. And it's so simple, you can just put the Final Wars version as a skin for Hedra. Just have one Hedra. A lot of these are skins that I've made icons for. Not sure about this one, and my mouse isn't sure about any of them because it's shit. I'm putting this one on the maybes. For similar reasons as Ghidorah. From what I understand, Kaiser Ghidorah will not be possible on a technical level. I have a feeling that has something to do with the fact that not only is it Ghidorah, but it also has 4 legs, and so it will be impossible to take any existing character and do all the extra stuff with them. King Caesar, I feel, is a likely candidate for inclusion. What I would be interested in, now I know I just ragged on Simon Strange a second ago with Hedra, but I believe King Caesar was going to have like some kind of reflective property. Like it wasn't going to have a beam weapon unless you held the trigger down and then got hit with another beam weapon, and then that would become the source for your beam weapon, kind of like in the original Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. I don't know how viable that would be for a competitive setting, and how fun it would be if it was actually implemented that way. So they might just kind of do what Godzilla Unleashed did and gave him solar beam eyes. But I have a feeling he's going to get in the game in some capacity regardless. Yeah, there's a lot of different versions of King Ghidorah. Okay, this one is going to be a bit of a joke, but depending on how the rest of this goes, I'm just going to leave this here. We'll come back to it. Okay, here we go. Crystalak. Once we're done this little block of the question marks, I may go back and replace the one that is currently blanked out on the monster manual for who I think is the most likely to happen next, which is most likely to be the thing that dates this video. This one is not backed up by statements by the devs, but based on what I understand about Kaiser Ghidorah and Ghidorah, I highly doubt Kumanga will end up in the game either. So I'm pretty sure we can deconfirm Kumanga just off of that. I'll talk about that more in a second. By a second, I mean whenever the hell I get through this. A lot of the game exclusive kaiju on here, and I highly doubt most of them are going to get in the game. I'm trying to have realistic expectations. For the one guy in my comment section, this is for you. I'm not putting him in yet, but he's in the roster of maybes. Okay, here's another one that I'm pretty sure is not going to make it in. I would love to be proven wrong. Manda feels like it'd be too difficult. There's not a character who doesn't have any limbs like Manda does. So I really doubt that Manda would make it in. This one seems too obvious. Showa Mechagodzilla. The only thing that I hope upon hope, and this is going to sound really, really, really nitpicky, and if Simon Strange watches this, he's going to think I'm a whack job. I do not want Showa Mechagodzilla's fingers to bend. They bend in Godzilla Unleashed. They should not have bent. The PS3, PS4 game got it right. I have a feeling the dev team for this game wouldn't make his fingers bend, but I just want to highlight that and make sure we're all on the same page. I want to throw this in here as a maybe. Again, a maybe. I think Monster X is a shoo-in. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're actively working on him too. And he placed really high in the poll, so if he doesn't make it in, I'll be surprised. They're just not going to be doing the Kaiser Ghidorah transformation gimmick for reasons I've already gone over. It's just a technical nightmare. I don't even think they can do it. And so many of these game-exclusive kaiju would be really cool. I'm holding off because I want to see how many slots I can actually get without dipping into that. Don't mind me. Oh, that's kind of neat. I have an unlockable Godzilla icon. I didn't even know that I had that. This one made first place in that poll from a long time ago. So that one, Godzilla 1998, or Zilla, he's almost shoo-in. They've got burrowing mechanics for several characters. I have a feeling he's gonna make it in. Okay, wow. So I have a pretty decent chunk of slots left. I've tried to have some restraint. So before I try to fill out those remaining slots, let's just say this is the list of characters that I think are most likely to get in the game. If anyone is unaware, at the time of recording this video on April 23rd, they say that there are still 31 slots left that they could add. Of these slots, I feel like the most likely, that's actually a difficult question. I feel like Showa Mechagodzilla is the most likely, and that's mostly off of the back of the fact that he was in Godzilla Unleashed, and of the other characters that were in Godzilla Unleashed that were not in Godzilla Save the Earth Vanilla, feel like Showa Mechagodzilla is like the third place behind Biollante and Titanosaurus, and we already know at this point that we're getting them. King Caesar, yes, was in Godzilla Unleashed, but for reasons I've already explained, think Caesar goes behind Showa Mechagodzilla. But that's still a hefty amount of slots, and even though I don't want to go that gung-ho into predicting things, because I don't want people to get upset when a character doesn't make it in, but let's go through some of these ones that I thought maybe could make it. The female Muto is probably gonna happen just because we're getting the MonsterVerse Godzilla, and for some inexplicable reason, people really like the Muto. Look, I was younger, when Godzilla 2014 came out, and once the initial hype of the movie's release died out in my mind, I saw the Mutos for what I believe they truly are, and that's just shittier Megagearus. I feel like that movie can just be rewritten with Megagearus, and you don't really lose a whole lot. Kamacuras. If we're not getting Kumonga, I feel like we should get Kamacuras just because Kamacuras is really cool in Godzilla Final Wars. I feel like there's an interesting moveset in there. I know this is going to sound weird, but I feel like a marriage between Fire Rodan and Megagearus in terms of gameplay style is probably where Kamacuras would land. Not quite Showa Rodan levels, but a little bit slower than normal Fire Rodan, or maybe on par, I don't know. I just really like the Final Wars design, and when it's zooming around Paris, that's when Kamacuras became a legitimate character in my eyes. Alright, who else we got? Well, the one guy on Twitter, Showa Mogera. Just because we have so many slots to fill here, I feel like he's a pretty good one. Also, and correct me if I'm wrong, Devs, because I know some of you watch these videos, but I think Mogera, at least at the time that I'm recording this video, I believe they're trying to shoot for a gimmick for Mogera, where it can split into the Land Mogera and the Star Falcon. I won't be surprised if after I get done recording this video, and before I even edit it, I wouldn't be surprised if I went onto the Discord server and found out that they were ditching that. Because that seems like a little bit of an ambitious thing. And I'm not saying they shouldn't go for it, but it seems like a lot of work. And I feel like Showa Mogera would make people happy. I have a feeling at minimum we're going to get this as a color scheme for the Heisei Mogera. But if Heisei Mogera is supposed to have this gimmick, like I think he's going to, then Showa Mogera being part of that kind of classic entourage of classic Godzilla, Showa Rodan, and Angulus might be a good idea. Alright, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Mechani-Kong. If they're going to try to get Kong into the game, then I can see Mechani-Kong being either a skin for Kong, which I think is more likely, but it could be a separate playable character, heavy on the clone. Look, it's been a long time since I've seen King Kong Escapes, and I do not intend on rewatching it anytime soon, but I could maybe see it being a character. Okay, I'm gonna do a three-fer with this. The Visitor, Fire Lion, Lightning Bug. For anyone who does not know who these characters are, they were the other original characters that were slated to be in Godzilla Unleashed, kinda sorta. Obsidious ended up beating them out in the poll, which I never participated in, but considering that Nasty Soft seems to be going with the philosophy of we can kind of change these game original characters because they were game originals and Toho's probably never going to touch them again, and the companies that owned them originally also aren't going to touch them ever again because they don't have the Godzilla license. Of the three, the only one that I have some qualms about is the Visitor, and that's only because of the fact that it has extra limbs. So I don't really know how easy that would be for the Nasty Soft development team to get it in there. Fire Lion I feel like is pretty easy. Lightning Bug I feel like is pretty easy. The only things with those is that they don't have pre-existing models. So you basically have to make a totally new model for them, which maybe is what Nasty Soft wants to do, because I believe they want to be their own independent game development company. So I guess maybe that would be some good practice. I don't know, I'm not a modeler. And hell, they might have models on the internet I just don't know of. of. People may have made them. They're relatively popular, and that's mostly due to the fact that people weren't really the biggest fans of Crystalak and Obsidious. Godzilla Earth. I'm gonna say maybe they should just do an anime Godzilla if they go this route. And any of the people who actually enjoyed the dumpster fire of Godzilla Singular Point, correct me on this, but I don't really think there's much of a difference between Godzilla Phileas / Godzilla Earth / Godzilla Ultima. I feel like you could feasibly fit them all into one character, and not much would be lost in the process. Godzilla Earth and Godzilla Ultima would have slightly different, like, particle effects for their beam weapons. The only thing I will say is that if Godzilla Earth was put in, they wouldn't obviously be able to make it accurate to the size that it is in the anime trilogy, although that would be kind of cool as like a boss. But Phileas could just be in there. The only other hurdle, I guess, would be the fact that mere implementation of an anime Godzilla, it wouldn't be very competitive, because it would only move at like 1 frame per every 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, I finally reached this point. There's enough spaces left. Giant Serizawa. If they're doing Charles Barkley / President Ogden, which yes, I will continue to fight, it has to be President Ogden instead of Barkley, due to copyright. But if they can get Barkley to work, or if they can get Giant Serizawa to work, it would be easy to then work backwards and get the other one. I didn't realize how much I want President Ogden as a playable character, but I already mentioned that Serizawa, Giant Serizawa, would be a cool addition. Can't believe I'm saying this, but Zone Fighter? I feel like we're getting a lot of humanoids in this list of characters that I think are going to get in. But if they've got Jet Jaguar, they can make Zone Fighter. Maguma would be hilarious. Maguma? This suggestion is only for the one dude in like Twitter or the YouTube comment section, I can't remember which, who said that he was a huge fan of Maguma. I really don't think Maguma's going to get in, but it would be funny. Okay, now I know my other potential is still there. I'm going to save that. Gamera. Technically, they haven't actually appeared in anything together. That's why I'm kind of holding off on that one. But if we were going to get any Gamera, I feel like the Heisei Gamera is probably good enough to deserve a slot. I really don't think that if you included the Heisei Gamera that you would include Showa Gamera as anything other than a skin. But maybe I'm wrong. And if they were going to add Gamera, I'd at least add Iris and Legion. Although, again, I don't know, with the limitations on how many limbs and stuff they've got. I guess if they're getting Biollante into the game, that provides them a little bit more room for stuff like Iris. Legion, I don't feel like would be very hard. I really don't want to add any more Gamera characters, just because I want to dunk on people. Skullcrawler's going into the probably isn't going to happen category, unless they figure out something by the time this video comes out. At the current moment, it seems like that's kind of an impossibility due to animations and rigging, etc, etc. Okay, just because I have only 4 slots left. King Godzilla from that like bootleg Godzilla Doujin fan manga. Just because it would be funny, it would be stupid. Since he's not a skin for anybody right now, and since I'm going balls to the wall to try and get these last 3 slots filled. Yongari? Showa Yongari. Don't start with me, kaiju shitposting. You know, I've made a million Godzilla fan rosters before, and I've never had this much trouble finding the last 2 slots. Pretty much all of the Godzilla training battle monsters could be cool, but if you're gonna do one of those, I feel like you gotta do all of them. And since there's only 2 slots left, I feel like that kind of precludes that. I guess since he's a MonsterVerse character, people for some reason really like the Titans, even though most of them are incredibly bland. Behemoth? I wouldn't be mad at that. Behemoth is the only MonsterVerse original kaiju, aside from Scar King, that I care about. I don't have a Scar King icon, but I would imagine he'd be a skin. No, Bertanus is probably not gonna make it in. Okay, we're down to the last spot, so let me put some maybes in here. Okay, so I just scrolled through the entire list of all the Godzilla icons that I have in here. So we're gonna be down to these 5 maybes. Gizora's out just because I feel like Gizora would be impossible. So we're gonna plop him up here. Hero Zero, I feel like is not gonna happen just because Ultraman would be more likely. And they can just plop Hero Zero onto either Ultraman or Jet Jaguar or any of the human characters, you know, the giant humans. So I feel like he's out. I don't feel like anyone ever talks about Dagara, so that leaves us with 2. Amebus and Cyberzilla. I don't even know what kind of moveset Kamibas could even have. But if they're already going to try to go for Zilla Jr. / Godzilla 98, they're already going to have a model that they can use and modify to make Cyberzilla. Yeah, I feel like that kind of covers it. Cyberzilla is going to be my last choice. That was way harder than it needed to be. So this is who I think is going to be our final reveal of the initial monster manuals. You know, that little static screen at the bottom. Who I also think is a potential slot for the remaining 30. And then, of course, who I think is probably not going to make it in the game. So that was way more difficult than I thought it would be. My voice actually feels like it's dying. As I've said a couple times in this video, I really doubt that we're going to get the monster manuals roster plus another 31. At most, I feel like we're going to get like maybe 5 or 6 more on top of that. It's a lot of characters, man. I've been waiting for something like Godzilla Save the Earth Melee to exist since I was a child. Or hell, actually, let's slide that back a little bit. Ever since I was a teenager. But I don't want to build up sky-high expectations, especially considering at current, we have the demo with only 9 characters in it, and we don't even have gameplay of most of the other ones, aside from Millennium, Godzilla, and Orga. So I'm trying to temper my expectations. You guys will be seeing this video in the future as I know it. So I hope upon hope that you guys are living in a future far better than I could have imagined. That there are far more characters in this project than we could have imagined. But I don't know how many people are working on this project, and I really don't want to blow it out of proportion and expect the world of it. I say after having made like 3 or 4 airstrike videos. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think of this, about my roster predictions, and kind of just what I think is going to comprise the final roster. Tell me what you think of any of the things I said about any of the characters. Unless you're a MonsterVerse defender, and you just don't like that I don't like the MonsterVerse that much. Or if you're an anime fan who thinks I'm judging the anime series too harshly. Thankfully, I don't think I had the viewership for that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Hit like. Hopefully I don't have to re-record any of this. And I will see you guys in the next video.